What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Pull Up Show. I'm your host, Mr. BJ Matthews, aka B Jizzle. Before we get started, follow us on the YouTube page, the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Like, share, subscribe. All of our YouTube videos. Hit that like button as y'all come in here. Hit the Cash App, $ BJ Matthews, $ BJ Matthews for this great content that we drop to y'all on a daily, weekly, monthly. You guys know the drill. Hit the Cash App, wipe your feet before you enter this house. Hit the like button as well. Hit the share, subscribe if you guys are first comers or newcomers. Continue to share the podcast with all your family and friends and basketball fanatics. Let's get it popping. All right, so we back at with another video. I just dropped one earlier concerning the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. If you guys did not see that video, go and check that video out, man. It's a very, very good video I just dropped. But we're back again a couple hours later with this last video of the day. We're talking about the New Orleans Pelicans and the Los Angeles Lakers a little bit. The Lakers lost, or they won 133-89 yesterday over the New Orleans Pelicans, who obviously just got destroyed in that second half. The first half, it was pretty close. In striking distance, I think the Pelicans were down by, I want to say single digits in the first half. And then the second half, they just blew the lead open. Obviously the Pelicans have been one of the teams through not just last year or this year, but, years prior, that there'd be a team that they could be talked about. But because of the person we're about to talk right now, they still haven't reached their full ceiling and their full potential. And that player I'm talking about is Mr. Zion Williamson. As you guys come onto the screen, man, make sure you guys hit the like button, hit the share, subscribe as well. And we're going to make sure we have all this stuff situated. But let's get into it, man. Small forward, power forward, Zion Williamson was recently somebody, made a post about him yesterday saying that he's been having, still some troubles with his conditioning and his weight and things of that nature. And I thought it would be a good time for us to kind of talk about this, because the question of this video is going to be, has Zion Williamson been the reason why the Pelicans haven't reached their full ceiling? And it's going to be one of the longer videos because for the most part, like we try to go through the soliloquy and things of that nature. So with this video, it's going to be a lot of stuff that I chose to, look at and research before I made it. The Pelicans are a team that does not get that much national news, but because of Zion Williamson being with the organization since then, he's been the reason why the Pelicans, get more attention through ESPN, TNT, them making the in-season tournament, being in Sacramento a few days ago. They obviously been one of the teams to have some attention, but they haven't reached their full potential because the man on the screen has been dealing with multiple different things throughout year after year. Zion Williamson has been in the league for going on, it's his fourth season right now. So in 4 seasons, Zion Williamson has pretty much every single year dealt with something that's either kept him from continuing in the season or, just being left shorthanded because he wasn't able to, prevail in the postseason. I think he's only played out of his 4 seasons, 1 postseason. The other 2, he's been out, including last year and the year before that. And I don't know if somebody can help me out, but the first year he only played 24 games. If you look at their statistics right here, in 2019-2020, he played 24 games. 2020-2021, 61 games. 22-23, the year that they went to the whatchamacallit in the playoffs against the Suns, they played 29 games that year. And then last year he had 19 games. So in a short haul, man, like the Pelicans for the most part have been dealing with a lot of in and out, with a lot of injuries, not just with Zion. Brandon Ingram played, I think, somewhere around 20-something games last year. CJ McCollum, came in last year. He played, but this year he's been dealing with that the lung situation. He's back now, so thank God he's doing well. But the Pelicans are just now starting to get healthy again, or at least that's what we thought. But until this report came out from a certain source saying that Zion Williamson was not taking his diet and conditioning seriously, here we are back at square one again. As y'all come in here, smash that like button, hit the share, the subscribe as well. We're talking about Mr. Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I just showed y'all he's been in the league for 4 seasons, and yet and still, this is still somewhat of an issue. according to sources. And if we look at every single year, evaluating Zion Williamson, um, all 4 years has been something going on with him. He had knee surgery as a rookie. He fractured his finger at the end of his second season. That was the year they lost to the Miami Heat. I think was it 4 or 5 games when they had Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and Bi. I think they had that full team. That was the most games Zion played that year, 61 games. The year after that, he missed his entire third season after undergoing foot surgery. That was the year the Pelicans made it into the play-in and beat my Clippers. They beat the Spurs and they beat the Clippers, and they went against the Suns in 6 games. And then they said this season it's his hamstring injury. Um, Now, I'm sorry, this was last season. I'm sorry, last season was his hamstring injury. So this is actually Zion's fourth season, and every year he's been dealing with something. So whether it's injuries, whether it's personal, it's just they cannot get on the same page when it comes to Zion Williamson, and that's why this offseason, with his whole personal situation with the lady who he had, issues with. I guess, they had that whole big story. We had done a full video live on that. That was putting fuel to the fire that people asked Zion Williams to be traded finally from the New Orleans Pelicans. Mumbling saying that he wanted to go to the New York Knicks. That was not confirmed. After Zion signed his rookie max deal, he said he wanted to stay in New Orleans, and people never really asked him what he really wanted. So I'm gonna go with Zion wants to stay with the Pelicans, but there's obviously some miscommunication. There's also them not being on the same page. So as the Pelicans lost in dramatic fashion last night, there's a couple people who weighed in on Zion Williamson. Those two guys were on TNT. Charles Barkley and Shaquille O'Neal. Now, Charles Barkley, a former player, former MVP, played with the Sixers, Suns, the Rockets, and he played with those three teams. He's been known as one of the top 50 greatest players of all time. At 6'5", he definitely has a great career in the analyst business with TNT. So he's definitely a basketball person, head to be respected. So this is what he had to say about Zion Williamson. He said Barkley then repeated his longstanding belief that Williamson needs to get in better shape before bringing up how he doesn't rebound enough, which has meant he's only accrued 2 double-doubles in the game. His quote reads, "The thing that disturbs me is he's not a young kid," Barkley said. "When Moses Malone told me I was fat and lazy, I was a rookie." Now, for you guys who do not know that Charles Barkley dealt with weight problems early on as well. I think out of college, when he was at Auburn, he was weighing somewhere, I think, right around 300 pounds, the same weight that people believe Zion is weighed at. He's weighed at 284. That's where he's marked, but I've seen Zion up close personally, and I wouldn't be surprised he's about 300. But they put him at 284 right now. But Charles Barkley was at 300 pounds, coming into the NBA. And it wasn't until his OG, Moses Malone, told him that he was fat and lazy when he was with the Philadelphia 76ers. And after that rookie year, he decided to get himself in shape. And then that's when Charles Barkley, you guys saw, the Hall of Fame career he had. Never won a championship, but he did go to the NBA Finals in '93. So all in all, Charles Barkley is a respected player throughout the NBA circles. But he said basically that Zion's been in the league for 4 seasons and he's still struggling to get his weight down. That's what's concerning to him. He continues by saying, my grandma was alive. She used to call me every game. I didn't get double figures rebounding and just kill me, Barkley said. A big guy that talented should never get less than 10 rebounds. He should be averaging 11 or 12 rebounds a game, but he doesn't run the floor hard at all. So kind of just going at Zion's numbers the last 4 years. What I did not know is that the guy has not averaged more than 7 rebounds in one season. Right? He is 6'6", and he has the body girth. He's not super tall, but he's very athletic and he's strong. And the way he can move around people in the paint, I guess what Charles Barkley is saying, that because his lack of conditioning and also his lack of effort is why he's underperforming. Right, his best season was his second year when he averaged 27.7 rebounds and 3 assists. I think he shot, if I'm not mistaken, he shot about 60% from the field that second year, off of simply just scoring more so in the interior, in the post, in the paint, just dominant, right? And this was his second season. Remember, this was supposed to be the dude that was supposed to take over the NBA. This was the guy that was supposed to come in and be, possibly challenge LeBron James. And I want to give LeBron James also this. Notice how we got so many guys coming in here, saying that he can be this, that, and the other. If y'all don't remember, before all the mental stuff started happening and, the downplay, Ben Simmons was talked about being the person that can eclipse LeBron James. If you guys do not remember, I think LeBron even said the same thing, that he has a chance to be better than me. That's what LeBron said. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen for a number of reasons, but Ben Simmons is not going to be that. And they had Zion Williamson, supposed to be, overtake LeBron. So LeBron, who is about, 17 years older than Zion Williamson, old enough to be pretty much a father to him. I watched the game last night, and LeBron just basically took Zion out the game off of his mental, which I'm going to talk another thing that Zion is holding him back. But LeBron pretty much took Zion out of the game, just simply being mentally, just mentally cerebral. They had a game plan from Zion from start to finish, right? So, gotta give LeBron that credit. He is, a savant, man. There's no other way around it. But back to Zion, there was a lot of high hopes for this dude coming into the league, right? But because of the off-court issues with his weight, with his focus, and with his situation last year with the young ladies, it's kind of put a monkey wrench. The Pelicans have not made it to the conference finals since he's been there. They have not been able to compete because their best player, quote unquote, has not been around. Right? Charles Barkley continued with the last quote. Barkley did make it a point to say that some of the blame falls on the Pelicans for using him as more of a point forward, and stressed that instead of being someone who initiates the offense, he has to be a finisher. So this quote right here just kind of circulates around that the Pelicans are not using Zion the right way in the offense. Now that's why I'm gonna go into something else right now. Zion's strength is, of course, driving to the basket. His athleticism is elite, finishing. So he kind of already has free will to do what he wants. So the team's going to gather around him to make his job easier. But because of, like Charles said earlier, and a couple, screenshots before, he doesn't really put out all full out effort. If you watch Zion play, he plays in spurts quite a bit. So that's why the numbers are not as high as what they could be. Right? But also his skill set. He doesn't have a jumper, consistent 15, 18-foot jumper. His free throw shooting is subpar. I think he's around 60-something% from the free throw line. He tends to go left more times than not. He's very predictable. Most of the guys who guard him, when he's on the perimeter, Zion or LeBron, what he was doing last night, he was already staying in the key, first play, or elbow or free throw line extended. So that's basically showing and daring him to shoot the three-point shot, which he's not very comfortable to shoot. Even if he makes the shot, just like Westbrook, just like guys who are not known for their shooting, Ben Simmons, it's the same thing with Zion. He's just a more dominant player when it comes to finishing around that basket, he's elite. But if you aren't able to score outside of 15, 18 feet or 12, 15 feet, you're not going to reach your full offensive potential. Right. But I digress from that. I'm going to come back to that. But this is what Shaq had to say about Zion last night. He said he doesn't create enough easy points for himself. Shaq continued. I saw a couple times when he had a couple times at the basket. He don't seal right. He doesn't demand the ball. He doesn't have that look. Like I'm not the greatest athlete ever, but I know a look when I see it. In every sport, I know a look. Tiger Woods had that look. Jack Nicklaus had that look. He doesn't have that look, and he doesn't rebound. He does not rebound, as we just mentioned earlier. And the screenshots, if y'all look at the what's this 1, 2 in the fourth column, it says rebounds. He ain't averaged more than 7 rebounds in a series. This is a power forward. This ain't no small forward. If you look throughout the entire league, starting power forwards are usually averaging consistently around 7, 8 rebounds a game. Right? This year he's only averaged 5.6. His first year he averaged 6.2. So I don't know if that's more so dealing with, where they position him on the court, or, if he's playing on minutes restrictions. But I mean, when Shaq said he doesn't rebound enough, I think one or two things. I think he's fundamentally not knowing how to position himself to rebound, and I don't think he goes after the ball hard enough. That's what I think Shaq is trying to say. He said he does not run hard. It's not a diss. This is going to be a lesson from one great big man to another guy that can be great. Shaq said he does not run hard. I had the same problem my first, second year. I thought I was running hard. Charles talks about this all the time. My talent's going to get me 20. When I start going to 20, 30, and 40, it's because I started doing certain things. See, this was probably the best quote I've seen so far, because you're talking about a guy in Shaquille O'Neal who arguably is one of the the most dominant centers of all time. Right? I think Kobe said it best, that Shaq had the potential to be the greatest player ever if he had took it serious. Shaq has said plenty of times he did not want to be the greatest player ever. If you watch Shaq between 99 to about 2002, that was arguably the most dominant force we've ever seen. Offensively, he was a brute force. Like, nobody can do nothing with this guy. But he did it off simply sheer talent, athleticism, and size. He worked, but he didn't have an insane work ethic where he wanted to be the best. That wasn't who he was. And that's why I can label Zion Williamson. He knows what he's talking about. Zion has a lot of the same physical, if not more, than Shaquille O'Neal, because now you're factoring his size and his girth and his athleticism. Shaq, as big as he was, could not jump out the gym like that. It defies the laws of physics for a guy to be that big and jump that high in Zion. So when he says that he was that guy his first and second year, that makes a lot of sense. Right? If Zion's saying to himself, if I'm getting 20, 25 points per game, then yeah, I'm definitely, doing what I'm supposed to do. But I see the same thing when he talks about this look. I see the same thing about Zion as Shaq says. If you guys watch Zion, when's the last time you saw him just go on a tear, scoring 8, 10 points in a row? Where you see a mismatch, which really should be every night for Zion, just because how big and strong he is. That's what takes away a lot from the other team. See, if you start letting them off the hook, if you start taking your foot off the gas, then that gives the team more momentum to kind of just, play off an instinct and just go the other way. But every time Zion puts his shoulder into his opponent's chest, or he finishes over somebody, he dunks over somebody, that demoralizes the other team possession after possession, because they don't want to deal with him. And with New Orleans, they have 2 other guys on that team, CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, who can score at will. That opens them up to cause damage. So that's what creates mismatches all over the court. but it has to start with Zion being physical. You know who Zion needs to start being like if he had more of that killer in his eye, right? The way he plays is just like how Giannis plays. They both attack the rim with force. They're physically more dominant than everybody on the court. Their jump shots are not that great, but the only difference between Zion and Giannis, first of all, he's a little bit older, but I think also Giannis, you could tell he wants it. Giannis ain't finna let you off the hook. He ain't finna just sit around and just wait for you to react. He's gonna make you react to him, and that's what that look that Shaq was talking about that Zion doesn't have. Right? Just evaluating Zion Williamson, he seemed like he's a guy who's kind of a little bit laid back. He's always had the physical dominance presence since he's been a kid. The game has came easy to him. So now you're in the NBA, you having to do things that you haven't done before. You're trying to figure out how to do them. I understand exactly what Shaq is talking about. Like, but Giannis, you could tell, even though he's not a great shooter, he works on that religiously. He's in the gym. You don't ever hear about Zion's weight. You don't ever hear about his conditioning. He's playing multiple 70-game seasons a year. You're never going to question his effort and his conditioning, much like Russell Westbrook. So yeah, that is obviously true. Like he has kept this team from reaching its potential because of his own choice decisions. Which I want to bring up, this last person, and I want y'all to kind of hear what Zion had to say about this last point. Let me pull it up. All right, so Gilbert Arenas, who is a former player himself, y'all know Gilbert Arenas has his own podcast. What I'm saying, he has that show with Brandon Jennings and Rashad McCants. I can't remember the last dude, light-skinned dude from LA. But they were on that show. I think Zion was on that show earlier this year before the season started. And they asked him, Gilbert asked him straight up, is it hard for him to eat diet at his age? And Arenas said, is it hard to diet at your age? Arenas asked, be honest. He said, since it's you, I'll be real, Williamson said. This shit is hard. It's hard, man. Like you're 22 years old and got a lot of money. It feels like all the money in the world, man, it's hard. He continued, he said, but I'm at the point now where because of the certain things, I'm putting back wisdom around me, putting people around me with wisdom, putting me on a game to certain things and just go from there. So this kind of tells me what Zion is as a person. Smash the like button as y'all come in here. See, remember that y'all ever heard the phrase, you are what you eat? You are what you eat. You ever heard that phrase? That's a very, very true phrase. You are what you eat. Based off what you eat is how you're gonna feel. Like this past summer, really, all the stories you heard about Zion, being lazy and overeating and, mentally not being locked in and all this, that, and the other. It was coming off. He wasn't focused. And then when you heard the little, situation with that girl, that, the porn star, Mariah Mills, he obviously is a young kid, but he also seems like he's a kid that is misdirected. I think that, he doesn't have the best wisdom around him. I think he's been surrounded by people who are not very wise. Not really, I'm not trying to bash nobody, but you could tell when a kid is surrounded by, smart minds. Now, of course, you're going to do what you want to do sometimes, but most of the times when you have a good village around a certain asset, they're going to make sure to replicate that. Look at LeBron James. He's had a great support system, even though he had, humble beginnings. He always speaks about the friends he has right now. The Fab Four he had with the when he was in Ohio. He spoke about his high school coach, who was like a father figure to him. Um, even how he raises his kids now with his wife, and they, like, you could tell he's had a great support system to keep him on a straight path. Usually, when you're the asset is surrounded by that, he tends to make good decisions. So the fact that Zion's been making bad decisions shows he does not had the best counsel around him. So you almost feel a little bad for him a little, because he sounded like he's a little bit trying to figure it out, a little naive at a young age, and he was sidetracked. That's why I think went on with Zion, because for you to say it's hard for you to die at your age, or say that you saying it's because you got a lot of money, that just shows that you're just not disciplined. Because if you got a lot of money, that shouldn't make it easy. That should make it easier, not harder. Because you have the resources, you have the money to do well. It's just based off your own mindset. See, what he's trying to say is, because I got all this money, I can spend it here and there and there, like a kid in a candy store, and eat what I want to eat, especially in New Orleans, where food is just like, probably the best thing down there. You're basically saying you're just not disciplined. And again, discipline usually is taught. That's taught. You're not born with it, you're taught it. So it's just basically Zion has to have the right people around him, and he has to put it to himself that, it's going to be it's up to me to make things right. That's pretty much it. It's a lot of stuff. Adding on to, like I said, with Shaq and Kenny Smith and them said, it's about his skill set as well. Zion's skill set is also holding him back. And I'm not saying he has to be a sharp shooting 3-point guy, or sharp shooting, but he needs to start being able to make the defense respect him, other than him just driving to the basket. He has to make his free throws, because he's going to get fouled, right? So that's going to kind of put a halt on teams sending him to the free throw line. But it's hard for this guy to be the best player in the league when he has those type of deficiencies in his game. He can be the most dominant, but to be the best, you can't be having that much of a liability when it comes to shooting the basketball or playing defense or rebounding, right? But nonetheless, that's what I have to say about this. I hope the best for Zion Williamson. I said, before, that Zion and the Pelicans can be trouble if that man gets his act together. I think he can give us, like the Clippers, some problems. But it's going to be all up to him and how he chooses to, put his team first. Which I also think I want to, end this with this. I also think his teammates are waiting for him to, do what needs to be done, because if not, then they're going to be getting very weary. I saw a quote from CJ McCollum last year speaking about how injuries were all throughout the whole team, but everybody, played through them. And I think that was kind of a shot at Zion, as in saying, like, man, we need you on the court. And, whatever you have going on, you need to get that fixed and situated, right? But until next time, respectfully say, pull up a seat, pull up a chair, pull up. Peace. Out of here like swimwear.